Western Conference Finals is here, and the Dallas Mavericks have made it, and so have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Before we get into the matchup, let's take a look at what happened leading up to this point. Starting off with the Dallas Mavericks, they had a tough road to this point. First, they had to play against the Los Angeles Clippers, then the OKC Thunder, and people counted them out for both of those games. The series itself was more or less a carbon copy of one another. They got both done in 6, lost game 1, won game 2, won game 3, lost game 4, won game 5, and won game 6. The Mavericks' main concern has got to be Luka Doncic. His knee and ankle has been hanging by a thread. So hopefully he doesn't get injured and he plays to his optimum capacity. The play for me has got to be Luka over in points because his history against the Minnesota Timberwolves this season has been insane, crossing 30 points. Asking for 28.5 is somewhat disrespectful, but I'm very tentative in playing it because of his injury status. How well can we expect Luka to play? If we get a Luka that's playing his absolute heart out and not walking off the floor with an injury, I can expect him to cross this line with ease. Now, what kind of version of Kyrie Irving are we expected to see here? Is he going to struggle in the first half like he usually does and turn up in the second half? Because that may be too late. The damage may be done. Once the Minnesota Timberwolves gets going, it's really hard to stop them. Now, moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, boy, have those two series been polar opposites. In the first series against the Phoenix Suns, they managed to sweep them. And the second series, they dragged it out as long as possible, going to Game 7. In the Game 7, it was all theirs to lose. They went down by 20 early in the third quarter. Then, everything changed. They turned it completely around, going on a heavy run, and then finishing the game on top. Who would have thought that they would knock out the defending champions at the Denver Nuggets home? After going 2-0 and then losing 2 at home, nobody predicted, but a lot of people didn't see them winning a third road game. But that proved not to be the case. Anthony Edwards take a bow. This series, the big issue for the Timberwolves has gotta be not getting ahead of themselves. They have a tendency of getting ahead of themselves. They start off real strong, they get hyped, they buy into their own hype, and then things fall apart. They perform really well when people doubt them, but hopefully they don't buy into their own hype. The keys to victory for the Minnesota Timberwolves has got to be their defense and their size. One thing I've noticed with the Dallas Mavericks is they struggle with physical players that push their way to the basket and get the points. Look at Ivica Zubac. He is not a very, very amazing player in my opinion, and he dominated the Dallas Mavericks, especially in Game 1. Game 1 was a shutout game for him, getting 20 points and 18 rebounds or some crazy stat like that. It's going to be on the screen right now. I expect Karl-Anthony Towns to be doing more of the same, getting over in points. He plays really well as well against the Dallas Mavericks. So assuming that he's fully fit, because his knee has also been giving him problems, assuming that he stays on the court, is fully fit, doesn't get into foul trouble, I expect him to cross this line with ease. The size of Rudy Gobert getting the rebounds, it's going to matter as well. If the Dallas Mavericks are struggling, especially through Kyrie, with shooting, I don't see them getting much offensive board with the size of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Naz Reid, Jalen McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, these guys are going to pose some serious problems for the Dallas Mavericks. Not to mention Anthony Edwards. He has been phenomenal, and they're going to have to put 2 on him to stand a chance because one person cannot stop Ant-Man. The Minnesota Timberwolves winning this series. At least Game 1 will regroup after that. But I think they're going to set the tone of this series. Anthony Edwards is going to have a really good game. Karl Anthony Towns especially is going to have a good game. They're going to dominate the rebounding. And the Dallas Mavericks are going to see a lot of problems, especially early. Once the momentum gets going, I see the Timberwolves walking away with this one. Let me know if you agree down in the comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Twitter, support the channel on the Patreon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.